What's happening? Today we're going to be working in the iPad a little bit with Procreate, and I'm going to show you how I actually use Procreate in my analog work when I'm creating a painting. But I'm also going to show you how an illustrator or how you can use this program to create drawings of your own. I'll give you a couple of tips. One will be how to mask items and why you might use mask, and the other is just how to use it as an illustrator moving forward. Now, if you have used Procreate before, this video probably isn't for you. If you are looking to dive into this digital realm and you're feeling kind of lost, this might be a great place for you to start. So stick around. I'm going to teach you how to use this awesome tool, and we'll be doing that next. If you're brand new to Procreate, I have another video that you should check out, and you might check it out up there and watch it first before you do this video. I'll probably have quite a bit of overlap, but I don't want to miss anything for you, so if you're feeling confused, go ahead and check that video out first and then come back. If you're new here, my name is Paige. I'm the Chief Pixel Pusher and Paintbrusher over at Gumption, and today we're going to dive right in to Procreate. I have a lot of friends who are retired and they're wanting to use this new tool to create drawings and just to explore art in a different way. This video is for you guys who are feeling a little lost in the digital realm, but you're wanting to give it a shot. So let's dive right in. Okay, so we'll open our iPad, and I have Procreate here right in my toolbar, so I'm going to click on that. And I've already selected a page size, but if you need to refer back to how you figure out your page size, go back to my first video, and that will help you do that. First and foremost, I'm going to show you how to do a couple of things here. I'm going to have one layer for drawing. I'm going to add an additional layer, and all you have to do is hit that plus sign right there and you'll get a new layer. And when it's blue, it tells you that you are on that particular layer. Now you can rename your layers by just tapping on the layer, and then this comes up, this whole list comes up. So you can hit rename and you could put picture, because I'm going to show you how to insert a picture into Procreate. So what I'm going to be doing is I have this panel that I'm going to paint. I'm going to paint a picture of my cat Harlow on it. I have the dimensions of this so I can translate it to Procreate here, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm also going to show you how I use this to sketch. So you can bypass this if you do not plan on ever importing any pictures or anything. I've taken a picture of this panel, so I'm going to go into the add menu. So you have the little wrench and you'll have the add. I'm going to click add, and I want to insert a photo. Go to this panel that I have. So I'm going to move this up to this corner. And then I'm going to lock this panel for now. I'm going to lock this layer for now. I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to sketch around this panel. This is just one way to work. It isn't the only way. And you can select any brushes that you want over here. I kind of like this brush from Frankentoon, that's this roller. And I'm just going to use, it doesn't have to be anything special. But I can trace along the edge here so I have the shape. Like I said, there are more ways to do this, but I'm going to try not to totally confuse you here. And you can see I have on this goofy glove, but it keeps my hand from making marks on the canvas where I don't want it. It's kind of the cheap man's fancy black glove. So here you see I have this curve. If I can get that to grab, you can do your curve and hold it, and then it will make that arc kind of perfect. And if you want to edit your shapes, you can hit edit shape, and then you can move your shape around at any one of these nodes. I'm not aiming for perfection here, really. This is just a guide for me as I sketch out my cat. And I switch often between my eraser and my drawing tool. This can get confusing. All this new menu is new to a lot of you. Don't sweat it. Just learn what each tool does and spend some time working with them. So I'm going to go back over to my layers here, and if I click this one off, you can see I have left with the shape of my panel, and I don't have to use this panel. There are other ways to show your drawing on a panel picture as well, but this is just one way to work. So then I could drag this layer. Actually, I'll drag it below, and then I can draw on that layer. Now, oftentimes I draw with kind of a light blue color. This kind of goes back to the days of animation a little bit, and that's why I do it. You certainly don't have to. You can pick a black color if you want. And this is your color button here. So if you click on it, you get the color wheel and the colors that you've used recently and any of your favorite palettes. So if you want to look at other palettes that you might have, it will show you all the palettes that you have in this version of Procreate. And you can use any of these tools here that you like. I often am in the disc mode, between disc mode and palette mode. So earlier on, I took a picture of my cat Harlow, and I did a few different versions of what the animal would look like in the frame. So I'm going to scooch this over so you can actually see it. So I didn't know if I wanted to do Harlow or a horse or another horse or Harlow again. I think this is the one that I like the most of her. How did I do that? Well, you can see this is the image of the shape that I want to have, and I want to fit this picture in there. I want to see what it looks like in this shape. So I click on this layer. So this is just a photo that I have added via the wrench tool, and I've put it on clipping mask here. So it is within that shape. Now if I take clipping mask off of it, you can see the shape of the actual picture. But it has to be over the top of whatever shape you want it to fit in. Because see, the rest of these are also that way now. And we want this image. So I'm going to say, I'm going to move it down here, and you can just drag and move your layers around where they need to be, because anything that's above this layer is going to cover it up when it's unchecked. So I'm going to say clipping mask, and that says to this image, you're going to clip this image with the image below it. And what's great about this is it doesn't do any damage to your image. It just crops it. Magically crops it. So I'm going to hit the clipping mask again, and this is a great image that I can use for reference. I want to save this image, and I want to drag it into my other gallery or my other canvas that I have set up. So I'm going to save this as an image that I can import into my other canvas. So I'm going to go to the wrench. I want to share this. And these are all the ways that you can share this image. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And then it's going to say, well, where would you like to save this? And I'm going to just say save image. So that has saved it to my gallery. So I'm done here. This is the image that I want to use for my picture. I go into my first document, and If you want to rename these, all you have to do is click on where it says Untitled Artwork, and I'm going to type in Harlow. And then I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to add that image here for my reference. So I'm going to go to Add, to the wrench tool, to Add, to Insert a Photo. And there I have my image of Harlow that I can use for reference in drawing. Now you don't have to work this way, and if you are just wanting to sketch, stay tuned and I'll show you how I do that as well. But you should understand the properties of layers because it will make your life so much easier if you can really grasp how layers work. The reason we have layers is so that we can adjust things on a certain layer without affecting other items. So here I have this cat image. If I drag it underneath the red outline layer, you can see it goes below that. If I drag it above it, you can see that layer will cover up the other layer. So I'm going to drag that guy back down here. I'm going to actually drag him to the bottom of these two layers, and I'm going to rename this my drawing layer, and then this is going to be my frame. So hopefully you're still with me. I don't want to lose you. I am going to move my frame up a little bit. I might try to move the cat down. Nah, I'll move him, actually her, down a little bit. So I'm going to lock this guy, and I'm going to lock my frame so I don't accidentally start drawing in there. And so I can start kind of looking at this and figuring out where the ear might line up, how they line up to one another. What's great is if you draw a line and you just hold your pencil there, it will allow you to have a straight line. I like this a lot better than dealing with Photoshop. So I kind of see where it intersects with my, and you can always make adjustments. I'm just kind of going in for my overall sketch of Rudy here. And sometimes you can even draw right directly over the top of this other image because we're on a different layer. You can really see how that works, and you can see that I was going the wrong direction, which isn't surprising. And you can fix that up. If you make a mistake, you can go in and erase it if you want to. But you see, because I am drawing on a separate layer than my frame or this image, I can erase without harming anything else. And I'm just looking at these shapes as overall shapes and planes. Now there are a dozen different ways you could probably do this. This is one of the ways that I do it. I really enjoy drawing, and I enjoy trying to get a likeness on my own so I can see how close I can get. You could technically trace this if you would like to. You can see Lucy here in the background. I don't know if I'm going to include her in my final piece, but just kind of make a note that she's back there. You can see here what our drawing looks like. It's hard to see the frame because of the color that it is. You can change your interface here under light interface to make it light if that is more pleasing for you, or you can switch it back to dark. So I'm going to keep drawing. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so you are not bored by the process, and we'll look at the finished product. Sometimes drawing is just a series of shadows. Chiaroscuro teaches you this, where you're using your light and dark areas and you define them, the shapes, as opposed to line drawing. What I'm looking for by using the iPad to draw this is for more accuracy in less time. So it might start out looking not a whole lot like Harlow, but by the end of it I can see where I've done things wrong and I can make changes there. Because she's so dark, sometimes it's hard to see her features. But like they tell you in art school and beyond, draw what you see, not what you think you see. And you can see all of this is a shadow. So you can use it like you would use a pencil, or you can make it bigger and so your stroke is bigger. You can tell this is really dark here. You're continually changing the size of your pencil. This would be a great drawing to use gray, black and white with this. I just like to use the blue, but if you're just starting out and you're learning values, that might be a good place for you to start. And everything that I do when I'm drawing animals or people is I'm checking alignment. And if you need to draw a straight line to see if something goes somewhere, just do it. That is how you get better at getting better likenesses and stronger work. And I'm always looking to see where the light's coming from. So our light is coming from this direction. So you're going to have lighter tones here. One of the best tools I feel that Procreate offers that's a lot like Photoshop is the Liquify tool. And you're going to find the Liquify tool in this little magic wand looking thing, and it says Liquify. Now you can do a lot of things with Liquify, but today we're just going to probably look at the push function. So this is the size of your brush, and what Liquify does is it nudges things. So I feel like this nose is slanted down too much. I need to bump it up a little bit. So with my brush, I can just push that area up real easily. To see a more dramatic change here, I can make that brush bigger and I can move that eye anywhere that I want. To undo things, you can just use your two fingers and tap, tap for each undo that you'd like to do. And when you're done, go up to the magic wand tool and you're done. So I can see, because I know my brushes here, that this is my eraser just by looking at that. So I need to make sure I go back to my brush tool. Now, we haven't ever talked too much about the smudge tool, but this is the smudge tool. It has brushes just like your paintbrush does, and you can pick any kind of brush that you want to use. I use the soft pastel brush. It just smooths out pencil marks. I'm looking at shapes and what kind of shapes they look like. This is kind of a shadow that runs along the face. And also, something that you should know when you're drawing is pressure makes a difference too. A lot of these brushes are pressure sensitive, so much like pencil, you want it to be a little lighter, you use a lighter touch. You want it to be darker, you use a harder touch. And if you need to, you can erase out shapes. I chose this picture because it gives us quite a bit of tonal range, whereas she's a pretty dark cat, so a lot of times she's hard to use to paint, but she's got some depth here. So I use my 2 fingers to scooch this around. If I make sure I'm on the drawing layer, and then I use this arrow over here, I can move this image within this frame. So if I want to make it a little bit smaller, I make sure that it's on uniform here, and I can just make it a little bit smaller. Another great rule of thumb, if you've been working on something for a while to see if you have your proportions right, is to change the orientation. And how you do that is you take 3 fingers, drag them down, and you'll get this handy dandy little menu. And I want to flip this horizontally because you can find a lot of mistakes and things by doing this. Because you get so used to looking at it, it makes it easier to spot things that might be a little bit off. Okay, so this is an example of how I sketch in Procreate. Now you can turn off these other layers. Oops. You can turn off the frame. And there are a couple of things that you can do from here. Now, this is a more detailed sketch than I might have thought initially I might do, but you can make this darker. And I'm going to show you how to duplicate a layer as well. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to turn off the original one, and we're going to make this darker by going into our wand tool and going to hue, saturation, and brightness. We can take that brightness all the way down to a black, and there you have a black and white sketch. You can also change the color, so if we bring this back up to 50%, you can change the saturation. So maybe you want to mute it down, you go all the way down to down this way to 0 saturation, or you can go all the way up to 100. And you can also change the hue. of a color. And if you want to reset, you just click on your canvas here and it says reset, and you can click reset. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the wand. Typically, if it were me and I was just doing a sketch and then I wanted to do nicer outline work, I would add a layer above the drawing, and I'd click on the N here, and here you can see there's an opacity slider that can make this other layer lighter or darker. It also gives you some options here that you can play around with in your free time. But today we're just going to move the opacity down, maybe. And then on this layer, you can use a black pen or something to clean up your line work. A lot of times I'll go into the inking, and you have all the same options over here that you have in your other brush. You can make it darker or thicker or thinner. Seems like it's a little thin, so maybe we need to pick a different brush. Just inky. Okay, so what you can do, since you're drawing on top of this, you can clean up your line work, and then you can turn off this layer when you're ready and use your inked layer. If you got something out of this tutorial, let me know. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and if you like what you see here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more artistic content, and share it with your friends too if you think they will get something out of it. Until next time, keep painting, keep creating, and I will see you later.